I want to thank you for tuning in for another episode of Solicited Advice. And I am scheduled to have a guest today. And okay, Joel has joined. So I am going to see if I can invite him to be on with me. So many reiterations around this technology, guys, and I am not tech savvy. That is definitely not my gift. But I do what I can to show up. So while I'm getting him on here, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. If you have any questions, feel free to simply put them in the chat and we will. Answer them as we have time. We're only going to be on here for about 30 minutes, and I'm looking to see if this is the right person. Let me go back in here and see. Um, okay, Joel. Is there, can you put your name? Okay, let me see. I can see it now. Invite to join. Okay. All right. So, these things are new for me. I want to thank you all for joining. So, this episode is really all about solicited advice. This is where people are coming on to share their insights about life. And today we're talking about prosperity. So, before we get into that, I want to make sure we can hear you okay. Can you hear us, Joel?
I can hear you great. Can you hear me?
Awesome. I can hear you for great. Okay. So we're excited. So hey, everything's working. So before we get into our interview, I want to thank you all for joining. If you have any questions related to finances or prosperity, feel free to put them in the chat and we will answer them as time allows. Joel is here on Substack. So if you have any future conversations that you want to have with him, feel free to reach out to him here. So, this segment is all about, getting the right insight around different life's topics. And so, we're not the experts per se, but we are just sharing our experiences in order for other people to move forward and learn to avoid some of the mishaps that maybe we've encountered. So, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I am your host, LaChelle Adkins, also known as America's Supermom, and I'm the mother of 15 children. So, prosperity is something that I'm excited to get all the tips and tricks about because with 15 children and soon to be 8 grandchildren in just another couple months, I'm excited to learn what I can around prosperity. So, without further ado, I want to introduce my guest, Joel, to everyone. And Joel is an author of a book. I received a copy of his book and I meant to have it out here in front of me, and I didn't get a chance to do that. So, Joel, I'm going to yield the mic to you for you to introduce yourself.
So
There
this
you
is
go.
my second book, The Nine Money Rules Millionaires Use. So I am a money mindset finance expert and law of attraction expert as well. I've written three books: The Mindful Money Management, The Nine Money Rules Millionaires Use, and Infinite Love and Money with Molly Singh. I am also an award-winning TEDx speaker and been on over 200 podcasts, TV shows, radio shows, and also looking to speak more on stages in person around the globe. I've been doing recently more workshops. I did a couple of workshops in Massachusetts last month. I spoke at Illuminate Annapolis in Maryland a couple of weeks ago, and we're speaking all up and down the Northeast in the next few months. So,
Yes. I remember you were saying you're speaking in Indy or something, Indianapolis.
yes, I'm really excited about that one. I also have a charity called Solomon Charitable Giving, which I created to teach financial literacy, the truth about money, to children under 18. And
Hmm.
so I'm speaking at the Indianapolis or Indiana School Counselors Association in November to ensure that kids can get the right, when they're getting guidance from their guidance counselors in school, the guidance counselors know the truth about money, which
Mm,
is that there's almost an infinite number of ways to become prosperous. And it's not just, getting good grades, going to a good school, and then getting a good job. It could be becoming an entrepreneur. And
mhm,
so teaching kids early on that there are many ways to become rich. And it could be getting a good job, it could be going to good school, but it could be maybe going to a trade school,
mhm,
because maybe you have an excellent trade that you have an innate ability for. So go for that rather than go the traditional route. And look, I think kids these days understand that there's many ways to become prosperous just by doing this, for example, getting online and getting some advertisers on a channel,
yeah,
right? So yeah, so I teach money mindset, I teach manifestation techniques, I teach investing, and I teach business strategy, primarily to what I'll call heart-centered entrepreneurs, the
mm,
Reiki master, the coaches. These are all past and current clients of mine. Yoga teacher, meditation teacher, psychic, uh,
mhm,
health coach. Uh, I have a woman who is working with her clients who have brain trauma,
wow,
and she does some specific techniques to get them back to health and
okay,
actually be a functioning part of community. So uh, people are doing great things, but and they have great vision, but they have some limiting beliefs around money. And
yes,
I I shift those limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs.
mhm.
And you I say you don't have to go searching for those invisible limiting beliefs, just instill the empowering beliefs.
Oh, that's
Right?
good. Yeah,
Because you may not be able to find those limiting beliefs, and why go searching? I say we're all uh, of God, by God, for God, where we've come alive in this human body as infinite intelligence, right? And
mm,
so you're perfect as you are. You were just taught things growing up that maybe were given to you by well meaning humans that didn't know any better.
yeah, that's a good way to put it, and I love how you, uh, shift from the negative to the positive. My first question is, how do you get people to be transparent about money? I mean, I think we talk about money a lot. People like to aspire to have material things, or they want another job that will pay more. There's not a shortage of us talking about it and embracing it, but there's something around people just feeling like they can be transparent about money. And I believe that to be true because we would have a lot more people doing more. Uh, they would be more financially set if it was something that people felt comfortable talking about. So, how do you get people to trust you to, you know, shine the light on some of these limiting beliefs that they actually know are holding them back?
That's a great question. And it's just having them fill out surveys. So I have them
Mhm.
fill out a financial freedom survey. And in my last book, Infinite Love and Money, we created 7 money personality types. So they fill out a money personality type survey. And I'm here to serve them. And they
Mhm.
know that when they come to work with me. So look, I don't succeed unless they succeed. So we need to uncover what is holding them back from living the life of their dreams.
Mm, that's good.
And
And I didn't mean to interrupt because I'm thinking, there's a lot of people that get a health coach, they get a mindset coach, and finances are a big chunk of your life. So, how do you even get people to feel like, this is really something that I need to get a coach or get someone special to help me with, with that's not covered under something else that they do every day?
Yeah, I mean it's just being more self-aware. If you're not generating, and I believe everyone's worth at least $250 an hour. So if you're not
Mm,
generating at least $250 an hour, maybe you're so if you annualize that, that's depending on how many hours you work a week or in your business. If you're not making at least $150,000, $12,000 a month consistently, then there's probably some limiting beliefs there that you need to move to empowering beliefs, right? And so that's the first step. If you're not feeling fulfilled in your life, maybe you're just doing a job and you're living paycheck to paycheck, then that's probably an indication, right? My upcoming book, Your Path to Purpose and Prosperity, we talk about how if you're living your purpose, if you're doing something you love, you're going to make more money doing that.
mhm,
So are you getting up in the morning excited? If you're not, maybe come to me. By the way, I will give the first 7 people who are watching this a financial freedom breakthrough call. This
mm,
is normally $497. But for the first 7, we'll put a link below this, I guess. You
okay.
can get my calendar, and this I will create an individualized roadmap to an extra $10,000 for those first 7 people,
Wow.
and we'll do that by uncovering what's holding them back from getting to that extra monies. And I've
Mhm.
done this dozens and dozens of times. I do it with my clients, and in my Money Miracles Mastermind group, people have generated extra surprise monies of $2,876,000.
Congratulations to that. That is awesome. And I love the fact that you are even working with the youth. So as a parent, what are some things that maybe we can do to really continue to tap into that infinity wisdom, knowledge, or even confidence around children being able to have the confidence to explore their gifts that might not be around the normal traditional way of going to school, or to in order to follow that entrepreneurial journey. So what could we do as parents to help them earlier?
So I think the most important thing is to have an open mind and live with an abundant, prosperous mindset. Because a lot of times you are well meaning, but not you, Lachelle, but
Yeah.
us as parents are well meaning. And and my dad, even though he was an entrepreneur, did this to me. He said, Joel, you know, get good grades, go to a good school, and get a good job.
Hmm.
And expectation of is like that's safe and secure. And we know that's not safe and secure, but the perception is more safe and secure than being an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
right? And yet he was an optometrist, right? So
Hmm.
he was an entrepreneur, but he didn't suggest that I follow in his footsteps. By the way, my grandfather was as well. And so he didn't suggest that I work with him or take over the family business or anything like that. It was get a good job. And so
Hmm.
changing, just being open minded with your kids and saying, hey, there's many ways to become prosperous. And if you are an amazing actor and singer, then don't put the starving artist
Right.
meme into their head, right?
Yes.
That's just like, by the way, there are millions and millions and millions of artists and actors who are making millions and millions.
Hmm.
So saying, oh well, if you're an artist you're going to be starving, and don't go down that route. Get a traditional job. Now you could go to a traditional job and still barely make ends meet.
Right. It's so true. I think because we don't really realize, I now, after going through my own journey of depression and being on the other side of that, you don't realize how, your mental uh, mindset can really inhibit a lot of your growth and potential because you're not sleeping, you're not performing to your optimal point, rather, whatever job you might have. There still could be that disconnect, that gap that's stopping you from being all that you could be. So appreciate that. And I believe that is so true around. I know I have kids that are doing all kind of things that I just didn't even have in my heart to pursue. I was an only child, so my mom was all about go to school, do what I did that helped me to be successful because that's all she knew. So I think a lot of times as parents, we just follow in the footsteps of what our parents did for us without even questioning if it's the best thing for us. And I realize that now that there is no one size fits all when you're raising 15 kids because each of them has different interests. They learn differently. So many different things go into that. So I love the fact that you're working with counselors also. What can we do as parents in terms of even with the education system? In terms of talking to the admin with the schools or, different ways that we can kind of support the kids learning earlier about prosperity.
Yeah, I that's a great question. I think, generally financial literacy is not taught in schools.
Hmm.
And what I teach is a foundation of money mindset, right? So really understanding where your money mindset is right now, even, it's you've been taught things 0 to 7 growing up,
Hmm.
8, 9, 10 years old, that then inhibit you years later.
Hmm.
So understanding, talking with teenagers, I spoke to the Boys and Girls Club in Stamford, Connecticut. I taught there for about a year, and
Hmm.
then I spoke at the Girl Scouts in Connecticut conference 2 years over the last 5 years, and it's really interesting to hear their thoughts about already when they're 12, 13, 14, 15. They already have massive limiting beliefs
Mm.
about becoming an entrepreneur, about what money is a lot of money, and so and reframing array, helping them reframe these thoughts, and self-worth issues are a big issue as well, right? A lot
Hmm.
of my clients are not charging the appropriate amount that they should be charging for their services because of self-worth issues. I
Mm.
literally had a woman who's still in my Money Miracles Mastermind group. She is an energy healer, and not to get religious, but she has some incredible powers, aka like Jesus, right? She can
Hmm.
heal people, like literally heal people with from disease,
Hmm.
right? And think about like if you had cancer and going through all the treatments and how much money that outlay would be for radiation, all the other stuff that's involved, right?
Yeah.
And she'll come in 3 or 4 or 5 sessions and you're 100%.
Wow.
How much should she charge for that, right? Should it be $100,000, $200,000? Like, how
Hmm.
much would you pay to doctors and insurance and so on, right? Or if you didn't have insurance?
Yeah.
She was charging $50 an
Hmm.
hour. She charged $150 to cure somebody.
Wow.
And she said to me, well, this is my God given talent. I
Hmm.
shouldn't really be charging for this. And I said, well, I think everyone has God given talents. I have a God given talent to help people learn about stocks. And I have
Yeah.
a 5 step proprietary stock screen that has helped people double their money this year and last year and the year before and the year before. So, and I charge a significant amount for that. And I told her,
Hmm.
look, there's needs to be an equitable exchange of energy, right? What
Yeah.
you're doing is it's an inequitable exchange of energy. People, it's like 3,000 years ago, and you're a cow farmer
Uh-huh.
and you want a chicken. So you go to the chicken farmer and she gives you a chicken and you give her back 12 cows. It's an inequitable exchange of energy. And that's
Yeah.
what's going on when you're a Reiki healer and you're healing somebody from some terrible disease and charge them $150.
Now, I think that is definitely a great point that you bring up about the exchange being inequitable. So, how do we need to help people's mindset around understanding the value? Because, you know, um, if you're an entrepreneur, a lot of times, you are going in uncharted territory. You're doing something new that it's not usually the norm. You're breaking barriers in a lot of aspects. And so, one of the things that people might recommend is, well, go online, see what other people are charging, kind of get an idea and a feel for that. And so I don't think we're really taught, how to gauge what our energy value is. So, do you speak to that at all?
I
Or what
do.
insight
I
would you give to somebody around that?
I do, and there's big. I took a lot of economics and finance courses in college. I'm a chartered financial analyst, also an actuary, so I have a lot of background. Of course, I managed a $700 million portfolio for Citi, and I had my own hedge fund. So I have a lot of background in finance, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so there's two ways to price things. There's cost plus, and there's value add, right?
Mm-hmm.
So cost plus is, what is my time worth? Right? Again, I think your time's worth at least $250 an hour, and she was charging, you know, $50 for an hour, right?
Hmm.
And so right away she's, and it's cost plus. It's not just your cost, but your cost plus a margin. And
Right.
then there's the value add. So it's, what is this transformation worth to the person, right? I mean, I would say, you know, healing somebody from a disease is priceless. They have their
Mm-hmm.
life back,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so even when you're charging $100,000 for that, or the doctors are charging that plus plus maybe, even if you were to charge 50,000 or $25,000, right? That's still an inequitable exchange, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
priceless.
Mm-hmm.
So the value, people come to me all the time, and when I work with coaches, I work with healers, I work with all sorts of types of early stage entrepreneurs. One of the things we do is we set pricing,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's it.
it's usually too low to begin with because their money mindset needs to raise to a level where they can charge an appropriate amount. And they also, what I teach is believing is seeing.
Mm.
Not seeing is believing. Like most people in this earth, like once I see it, I'll believe it. But if you believe it first, then you'll see it in
Right.
3D reality. So, and I understand most of my clients are not there yet. So what happens is they have to start having people pay the amount for them to believe that they're worth it.
Right.
We're raising their money vibration, but then they also need to see some evidence in the physical reality as well. And so, I just started working with a new client, and she's doing sound baths,
Mm-hmm.
and she's doing other types of healing modalities.
Mm-hmm.
And she said she wants to start, she's starting like a membership, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, how much are you going to charge? And she said, well, we want to start at $100 a month. And I said, okay, well, that's really low, but start there, get a few people in, and then increase the price, because that membership probably should be like closer to $1,000 a month for what you're doing. She's
Mm-hmm.
actually got two other practitioners in there that are all working on her group.
I see.
So, and there's, again, it's priceless what they're doing, right? They're healing people. They're changing the vibration of
Yes.
your frequency when with the sound, the frequency that she does, the frequency modalities she works on.
I
So
love.
it's almost priceless, and I understand that where she is right now, she's just starting out. She doesn't have proof of concept. So start with
Mm-hmm.
a small amount, but know that you're going to be raising your rates over a very short period of time, and still know that it's a reframe. It's not about the fact that this is how much I'm charging, but what's the value I'm providing. And again,
Mm.
that's priceless.
Yeah, I love that because, for somebody who maybe they are, a publisher, for example, you have a lot of people who go through a healing, transformative journey with writing a book, depending on what the book is about. And even, for yourself, there's a lot of value in people knowing about prosperity and money. So, what steps do you help them take to transition to that higher price? Because maybe you've been charging this, you're comfortable, but then you have that frustration around the value, because other people come expecting the same price, but you're in that transition. So how do you recommend they navigate through that, and what are some things they should do in order to make that transition sometimes before the frustration comes?
Yeah, great question. So that's, I would say, first step is mindset, right? So working
Mm,
on your own money mindset to get to a different level. So I teach how to shift those limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs using techniques like visualization, acting as if, acting as if what you want to happen has already happened.
mhm,
Um, and so there are different money manifestation techniques I teach that will work on the money mindset so that you're in a different state. So you're more confident, you have a higher self worth. And so you can transition to a higher price before you're feeling frustrated and overwhelmed and, oh, I'm not worth it. Right. So it's getting to that stronger foundation first. And so that's why even when I'm teaching business strategy or investing to people. I have a 5 step proprietary stock screen that I teach. And people want to learn that. And I say, okay, I'll teach it. But the first step is your mindset, right?
mhm.
We have to have a strong money mindset first, because if you don't have that, then you're going to be buying when you should be selling and selling when you should be buying, right? And it's the same thing with the business. If you don't have a strong money mindset, there's doubts that gonna come in.
Mhm.
And so, I teach hashtag doubt the doubt. Have faith
Mm,
in the dream. Don't have faith in your doubt. Right. But if
mhm.
if you don't have that solid foundation to start, and that's why I start there, then you could start doubting your business, doubting yourself, and then you might give up before you actually get to a place where you're sustainable.
Love that. And so, what are some things that people can get started with today to kind of help them with that mindset and reframe? You've mentioned a lot of things around, certain thoughts that we should be having, or, I'm thinking maybe before they get on the call, something maybe they should say to themselves. What do you recommend people, if they are today just want to have a change? What are some things they can do in their daily routine?
So yeah, I do teach affirmations. I do teach it a little bit differently than most people, because most people just say I am a money magnet, or say I am an excellent money manager,
Mhm.
or lucrative opportunities always come my way,
Mhm.
or it's a good thing I'm rich. So I ask my clients to write down the level of belief in that statement.
Mm,
If you say it's a good thing I'm rich and you don't believe it, you're just creating resistance and nothing's happening.
mm,
If you say I am an excellent money manager, but you're like, oh, I've never invested in my life, how's that true? Then nothing's happening.
right.
So I teach my clients to soften the statements until you actually believe a stronger statement.
I see.
So I allow myself to become an excellent money manager. And
Mm,
first of all, write down your level of belief from 1 to 10. 1 is massive doubt, 10 is absolute faith that this is true for me. Right. And
mhm.
if you're not at 8, 9, or 10, don't say it.
Oh, okay. That's it.
Look, it can work. You can say it's a good thing I'm rich. It's a good thing I'm rich. It's a good thing I'm rich 12 times a day, every day, 100 times a day, every day. Yeah, probably in a year or two, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I am rich.
Right.
But if you don't do that 100 times a day, and most people won't, it's not happening.
Yeah.
Because you need to
Mhm.
break through the subconscious barrier of that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. So soften it, and you don't have to say it 100 times a day. And in a few months, you'll actually find surprise money's coming in if you say, I allow myself to become
Yeah.
an actual money manager.
I love that because, I think there is when not just saying the affirmation, but it's a different attitude around even the things you do. Let's say that you want to study more about money and learn, so you incorporate reading about it in the morning. For somebody who doesn't even think it's possible, they're like, I don't have time to read. I'll try to do that another day. Some of the other behavioral shifts that support whatever that belief is won't happen either, if you have that doubt. So, really appreciate you sharing that because that's a big step. It's the action steps that you take from that place of believing you to be that person. Rather than just waiting for something to happen and then you fall in line with a specific behavior or action. So appreciate that. So,
I
uh,
could give two more tips if we have time.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, rule number five. So, affirmations really is part of rule number one, which is when you believe, right? So, I
Mhm.
incorporated when you believe of the nine money rules. Millionaires Use, my second book that I showed earlier. So when you believe, writing down your belief for the affirmation. So, rule number five is what you appreciate appreciates.
Mhm.
And so, it's the law of gratitude. And so, what I teach my clients is to journal on gratitude every day. And
Mhm.
not just journal on gratitude, but write down why you're grateful for the thing. So, at the end of the day, like today, it's going to be I'm grateful for LaChelle Adams for having me on her show today, right? And
Mhm.
I'll write down because I was able to reach one new person today to
Mhm.
maybe change their mindset, right? So writing down what you're grateful for and why is really helpful because you want to get into the feeling of it. Because it's feeling first, manifestation second. And by the
Mm.
way, manifestation may get a bad rap. Some people on here may say, "Oh, manifestation, that's just BS." But manifestation is just a surprise amount of money that comes in. It's something
Mhm.
that you weren't expecting. And we're
Mhm.
manifesting all day every day unconsciously.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
want my clients to manifest consciously. So using gratitude, by the way, gratitude is the highest vibration.
Mhm.
On the emotional guidance scale. It's the same vibration as love and joy and passion and appreciation. And by the way, abundance and prosperity. It's the same
Mhm.
frequency. So if you're vibrating there and feeling it, then that's a positive, that's a really powerful technique you can do. And so let me give you one last one. This
Okay.
one is the law of generous giving. And so when you're feeling most in lack or scarcity, give. Sir
Mm.
John Templeton, some of you may know, uh, some consider the best investor of the 20th century. He started the Templeton Fund with $1,000
Mhm.
and with just friends and family money. And 40 years later, to he sold it to the Franklin Mutual Funds for almost $1 billion.
Wow.
So he said he hadn't met anybody who hadn't given at least 10% of his earnings each year over a 10-year period who didn't have massively more wealth at the end of the 10 years than at the beginning.
Wow.
And you may be thinking, Joel, but if I give my money away, I have less money. How does that work? And I'll just tell you money is energy. And
Mhm.
by putting it out there into the universe, it will flow back to you. And in my life, when I've done this, it's flowed back multiples.
Mhm.
So the law of generous giving, rule number six in the nine money rules millionaires use, is also powerful.
Totally get that because if you can't give if you are yes, you may have some limiting beliefs around, oh my gosh, how am I going to make it if I give this away? But there's something about um, an unwritten belief around being able to give to other people that allows you to know that you're going to be okay, that this
Right.
is not something that you have to hold on to as life or death. And eventually, over time, that feeling gets, less prominent and less prominent. I mean, I know that just I just so many things that we've been blessed with a large family from giving that I can't even tell you. That's one of the things that allows us to make it. Having a large family is through giving, and not all giving is equitable. You'd be surprised. Some little things you do can have some big harvests and rewards. So, really appreciate that, because generosity is being able to understand you're okay and that you have enough to give to somebody else who isn't okay. And it's not always out of lack. I don't want people to think that's one way of giving, but there can be things where, nobody is down and out, but you're just giving in order to plant that seed, so to speak. So appreciate that share. So I'm going to yield the mic to you for any final thoughts. If you have anything coming up you want people to support, feel free to let us know about that now. And thank you so much for your time today. This has been very informative.
Sure. So again, I'd like to offer first 7 people an individualized roadmap to an extra $10,000 in the next 30 days. Uh, we'll somehow we'll put the link below this video so we can grab my calendar. And my final thought is hashtag doubt the doubt. I mentioned it earlier. Have faith in the dream. Don't have faith in your doubt. If the doubts come up, know that you came here to thrive.
Mm,
You came into this body to not just survive, but to you had prosperity is your birthright.
hmm. Love
And
that.
so, doubt the doubt, have faith in the dream, don't have faith in your doubt.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for everything you've shared today. And I want to encourage those who are listening to reach out to Joel. We will be sure to get that link. What you can do is just email it to me, Joel, and
Okay.
then I'll put it in the comments. We have Curtis and Nikki that have joined that I could see. So I want to thank you guys for watching. We had 4 people watching. So love this thing with Substack. It's just amazing community. So they will have a replay so they can watch it later on for other people. But thank you so much for your time today, and looking forward to us collaborating again in the future. Would
Sounds
love to
great.
have you come back and share some insights, especially when your book comes out. When's your next one coming out?
Great question. Before the end of 2026.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, maybe we can have you come back the beginning of the year so you can get us started off with the right kind of mindset moving forward. So
Sounds great.
thank you so much. And I want to thank all you guys for watching. If you have questions that you didn't get to put in the chat while we were live, feel free to put them in the comments of this, and we'll make sure to send those to Joel so we can get them answered for you. So I want to wish everyone an amazing end of July, and I will see you guys next month. Bye for now. Thanks so much, Joel.
Thank you.